for our access, for our users to have access to 2 custom-built systems. And that was led by Anita Mahadevan-Jansen in biomedical engineering, Matt Tiska, our scientific director, and Shane Hudson in physics. And notably, Brian Millis and John Kozub are the 2 people who did this building. And Brian Millis is one of the current Chan Zuckerberg Initiative imaging scientists as well. So, how do I make, okay, just an overview of the scissor. Like I said, we're just a traditional microscopy core. We're pretty large, been around for about 20 years, and currently have 18 instruments, 2 EM and 16 light microscopes. 3 of those are light sheet microscopes. We have over 400 users, over 200 labs, and serve a variety of departments where have great institutional support from the institution and from 5 different NIH centers with over 12,000 microscope hours per year. And this is just to kind of point out the fact that we're an established core. We are accustomed to bringing in new equipment, but Lattice Lightsheet is still kind of a new beast. And then just to show you that we cover with our light and electron microscopy, the full spectrum of samples that anyone in biomedical sciences really want to image. And then with Lightsheet, we're pushing that more into the millimeter, several millimeter ranges. So how did this come about? As I mentioned, it was a collaboration between the 2 groups to form this biomid, and they were the recipients of institutional funding, trans-institutional program funding for the engineers to build novel and cutting edge instruments that we could not buy off the shelf, and then partner with the biologists to use them to discover new things. And so with this trans-institutional funding, this group has built a lattice light sheet based on the BETSIG design and a scanned oblique plane illumination SOPI single objective light sheet as well. And then just coincidentally, not totally coincidentally, but around the same time, we received NIH S10 funding for a Zeiss Z1 commercial system. And all of these have been brought physically into our core just in 2020. So I just wanted to kind of touch on how we think about bringing these into a core and kind of what some of our problem steps have been. I'm really talking about this in general of all light sheet microscopy, but we can touch on the specifics for lattice light sheet as well. The first thing we realized right away is this is not not instruments that we could just fit in with our existing personnel and their time. There really needed to be a dedicated point person. So Nick McNimmy, who I had mentioned, had recently joined our group. And so we offered for him to be this point person, and it has worked out spectacularly. So he has learned along with the engineers. And now when anyone says the word light sheet microscopy, they go to him for a detailed conversation about what they really need to do. A lot of that is feasibility of the sample. And he has a long list of questions. What's your sample? What do you really want to see? What are your imaging goals? Thinking about data as well. Training is a little different as well for the lattice light sheet and the SOPI. There really isn't independent usage yet. So it's more of an imaging for hire or working alongside Nick. Sample prep, that is more for the larger cleared things, of course, in the Z1. So the lattice, really, it's just about having that upfront conversation and providing them with the correct cover slips and impressing upon them that they really need to know that their sample looks good and that they have imaged it elsewhere. Data storage, I'm not going to touch on that much because I know this is an ongoing thing for everyone. Just, of course, it is amplified even more. And this is an ongoing conversation. We just have a list of this is what you need to think about. These are some options that we recommend for the users when they come along. And then another thing that really has come to the forefront lately is education of users. A lot of people hear Lightsheet and they're really excited to try it, but they don't really know what it is. And so we're trying to address that through workshops and even marketing, and that's an ongoing process as well. And so then, since this is a build or buy discussion, I just wanted to put up a few things that we kind of consider or that I think are considerations. Of course, cost is one thing. The cost to build it, and that's really people and parts versus the cost of purchase. Cost to maintain, that's also probably part of a person to help with alignment and all the small things that come up versus cost of the service contract. time to build. This took a couple of years at least, versus time to install, probably time to write a grant and install and train. Then the number of staff and their expertise that are needed to either image with the users or to get them to a point where they can image on their own. And then the other thing that is we're working on right now is really how to charge for this. It doesn't fit our regular however many dollars an hour for confocal use. As I mentioned, we do have electron microscopy in our core as well. So we're thinking about this more as a project model. And this is an ongoing work right now for us to figure out exactly how we charge for somebody that needs 1 hour versus somebody that needs 3 days. And then I'm going to wrap up quickly and just say you want to think about how much upgrades or customizable things you would want on your instruments. So that's it. Thank you very much. Nick McNamee is on the call as well. And we are glad to take questions, and you can find our website and Twitter there. And I'm glad for anyone to email me when contact information is sent out. Thank you.